Action and adventure TV shows channel from Comedy MX spotlights Tarzan, Rin Tin Tin, Zorro, complete Saturday matinee serials Captain Zero, Annie Oakley, The Big Picture, Korea and Vietnam Wars, and more. The thrills and chills never stop at Comedy MX. So return with us now to those golden days of yesteryear.
Ships are sinking. Men are dying. It is September 1939. While German panzer divisions race toward Warsaw, the German Navy, powerful, efficient, its morale high, prepares for a greater, more decisive struggle, the Battle of the Atlantic. Hitler's admirals know that command of the sea means the death of Great Britain and victory in Europe. They also know if the stronger Royal Navy bars the way on the surface, victory may be won in the depths. At the outbreak of war, they begin expanding their U-boat fleet by as much as 1,000% a month. Germany's ablest scientists and technicians concentrate on perfecting the submarine, multiplying its range and deadliness. For fascism to survive, it must kill. The time has come, and Hitler hurls his U-boats into the Atlantic to ravage and destroy. The elite of the Nazi Navy, its best commanders, its most highly trained crews, man the submarine. To them falls the crucial mission of isolating Great Britain, of severing the arteries that feed her. If enough of England's ships are sunk, the issue will not be in doubt. England starves, Europe dies. As war begins, England expands her now hopelessly inadequate merchant marine. In addition, hundreds of escort vessels are desperately needed to protect the cargo ships. For months to come, they will be pitifully few. Patiently, doggedly, Englishmen build the ships, which make so little showing in the statistics of naval strength. The ships without which England cannot live. Canada's men and material enlist in the cause of decency and survival. Canada is quick to act with all her means. Precious goods from her farms and arsenals are loaded aboard ancient, poorly armed merchant ships. Makeshift convoys set out for the perilous crossing under the patchwork protection of converted yachts, the fishing fleet, and, if they are lucky, a ship or two of the hard-pressed Royal Canadian Navy. The sailors are sustained chiefly by the knowledge that the sea is wide and the U-boats cannot cover every mile of every route. It's a pitiful, feeble way of making war, hoping, pray to dodge the enemy. It must go on until it reaches England, or until it's spotted by the Germans, whose submarines are prowling, shadowy, waiting to move in for the slaughter. Feeble escorts fight back, but are seldom effective. How can World War I equipment cope with World War II submarines? But the sub must be fought. If the war at sea is deadly, the war on land seems phony. The Sitzkrieg is on, fought with propaganda balloons and leaflets, slogans and serenades. The Maginot Line seems impregnable, and the French soldiers relax. But the Germans are not dancing. Their strength is building. Their plans are laid. Hitler's finger is on the trigger. Holland is crushed. Belgium is smashed. France is broken. Dunkirk. What man can know that this is the prelude to England's finest hour? Britain's sea power rescues Britain's army, but at a cost of abandoning all its equipment and all its stores. The British stand stripped of their armor, their weapons struck from their hands. It is the hour of catastrophe. It is the hour of the brown triumph. The path of glory leads to the forest of Compiègne. With vulgar histrionics, the Nazis staged France's humiliation in the same railway car where the Germans capitulated 22 years earlier. The French surrender, and it is Hitler's turn to dance. Conquest ends at the English Channel, where sea power blocks the way. Yet, with the French ports in German hands, the striking power of the Nazis grows enormously. The enemy moves into powerful new positions that menace England's very shores. Now the submarine bases are a mere night's run from the ship lanes that sustain England's life. Now the U-boats are at England's throat. 6 weeks of blitzkrieg has made them 10 times as dangerous as before. 20 times as potent. And from newly acquired air bases on England's threshold comes something new to warfare, new to history. An attempt to pound a world power into submission by bombardment from the sky. Coolly and brilliantly, the English organized their defenses, meeting the new menace with new methods. But the Nazi squadrons come over around the clock. by caring not how she expends her blood, sweat, and tears. England stands firm. Hitler does not force her to her knees. A democratic people wins the Battle of Britain. But for Britain's leaders, the situation remains desperate. If freedom is to survive in the old world, the new world will have to act. In America, public opinion is slowly, surely forming. The issues are becoming clear. Congress moves boldly to safeguard American security by forthright aid to Great Britain. The British Navy needs destroyers, needs them badly. America has many left over from World War I. Stopgap strategy in the Battle of the Atlantic calls for an exchange of destroyers for British bases in the Caribbean and the Atlantic. Step by step, America begins forging her armor. American Marines move into Iceland a year later, relieving the British garrison there. The Leathernecks forestall the German threat. Whoever possesses Iceland holds a pistol pointed at England, the United States, and Canada. In midsummer 1941, Churchill and Roosevelt meet off Newfoundland to proclaim the Atlantic Charter. The four freedoms. Freedom of speech and of worship, from want and from fear. But these are the realities that support the ideals. The ships, the men, the supplies on which all depends. The ships plod along the North Atlantic convoy routes at dangerously sluggish speed, their pace regulated by the slowest merchantman in the convoy. And the slower the convoy, the easier it falls into the trap of roving U-boats. The shortest course to Europe lies across the North Atlantic. Concentrated here is the flow of Allied ships and enemy submarines. While convoys are underway, Royal Canadian Control Centers keep them instructed and informed on the basis of coordinated intelligence. At sea, protection is weak, the menace grave. Around the rim of the convoy, the escort vessels keep station, herding the merchantmen toward their destination. In September 1941, the United States Navy joins the British and Canadians in protecting the convoys half their way across the Atlantic. American sailors are in the shooting war, though their country is not. The U-boats in the area of the convoy are alerted and directed to an assembly point where they coordinate into a unified striking force known as a wolf pack. The pack rendezvous for the attack. The convoy is on guard. Sonar, ASDIC as the British call it, sends a sound wave into the depths, searching for a return echo from the enemy. All hands on all ships are alerted in these dangerous waters. where sinkings are routine. Contact. Too late.
Man your battle stations.
The battle is over. Home are the victors, home safely from the sea. They have brought England a little closer to starvation, closer to defeat. Triumph and glory are theirs. Outstanding heroes are flown to their capital, Berlin, for further celebration. The victories against England prove to the Germans the invincibility of the Third Reich. All Germany rejoices. All Germany honors its undersea sailors. And destruction are the cause of the celebrations. Even before the United States enters the war, the bottom of the Atlantic is a formidable cemetery of Allied ships. But there are no tombstones in the sea, only the drifting remnants of disaster. And this is just the beginning. Boils over. Hawaii. To Americans, an enchanting island territory 2,000 miles from the mainland. To the Japanese, Pearl Harbor, an enemy bastion. For 2 years, Europe has been at war, but in Honolulu, people talk of pineapples, sugar cane, money and tourists. The year is 1941. There is still time for one more aloha. Still time to enjoy tropical skies and sweet music, flowered leis, and the hula. On another Pacific island, beyond the international dateline, events which will change the course of history are maturing with reckless rapidity. Tokyo, the brain of the Japanese Empire, looks brisk, efficient, modern, as is proper for the capital of the most thoroughly industrialized nation in the East. Simultaneously, two opposed levels of culture exist side by side, Oriental and Occidental. Social, economic, and religious ideas from an isolated past survive with superimposed industrial methods and Western ways. The face of Japan is baffling. A strange mixture of the very ancient with the brand new. But one face is familiar. The world has learned to recognize aggression. Japan is marching. Techniques she has learned so well from the West are harnessed into ideas cultivated in the East. Hako Ichu, Japan's divine mission to bring the 8 corners of the world under one roof. Bushido, the sacred code of the warrior, the glory of conquest. First, Japan conquered Manchuria. Later, she struck China. Incident after incident, victory after victory, forging her new empire, the greater East Asia co-prosperity sphere. The world is beginning to catch the ominous sound of a strange new word, banzai. But behind bright banners and arrogant words, the Japanese high command ponders a dilemma. To realize the dreams of conquest, the war machine must have the oil of Southeast Asia. Japan has none. With the European powers locked in a war of survival, America's Pacific Fleet is the major obstacle to Japanese domination of Asia and the Pacific. The ruling militarists hatch a fateful plan to eliminate the obstacle. Sink the United States Navy. Guns are sighted on Pearl Harbor, the key to America's defense in the Pacific, the headquarters of the United States Pacific Fleet. Japan knows the attack she is planning means war. But if she sinks the principal striking force of the United States Navy, the prize is worth the risk. Such bold designs demand hard study and exact intelligence. The Hawaiian Islands are scrutinized, especially Oahu, with its principal targets. Honolulu, Pearl Harbor, the major airfields, installations of every kind, forts, naval bases, warehouses, dry docks. Every military factor of importance is pinpointed for the coming attack. But the heart of the assault will center on Ford Island in the middle of Pearl Harbor, around which the American fleet is moored. Intelligence reports, main enemy force here. Destroyers here, cruisers, converted target ship Utah, seaplane tender. There is little the Japanese do not know in advance. The Navy's finest pilots are picked to deliver the assault, which will be carried out entirely by carrier-based aircraft.
technically and emotionally, their indoctrination is as perfect as human ingenuity can make it. By late October 1941, dress rehearsals for the attack are secretly staged over terrain chosen for its resemblance to Pearl Harbor. Air crews hold repeated, highly realistic maneuvers, perfecting their teamwork, practicing approaches, sharpening their marksmanship. Plans and decisions become orders and action. Events move with relentless precision toward their climax. In early November, Admiral Yamamoto, designer of the Pearl Harbor attack, orders his striking force to advance into Hawaiian waters and upon the very opening of hostilities, attack the main force of the United States fleet. On November 16th, the ships, singly and in small groups, slip out to sea to rendezvous in a hidden harbor in the remote Kuril Islands, far north of Tokyo. A week later, the Pearl Harbor striking force is assembled and weighs anchor for Hawaii, 4,000 miles and 12 days away. The task force maintains radio silence and travels a roundabout course off normal shipping lanes. Dirty weather and heavy seas help veil its progress. Never before been so powerful a striking force in the Pacific. 2 fast battleships, 6 of Japan's newest and finest carriers, a screen of 8 destroyers, 3 cruisers and 3 submarines. Aboard the carriers are 40 torpedo bombers, 135 dive bombers, 104 horizontal bombers, and 81 strafing planes. A total of 360 aircraft. Preparing themselves for the attack, pilots pause at Shinto shrines to renew their dedication to the spirits of their ancestors. On every flight deck, pilots receive last-minute intelligence on Pearl Harbor. They prepare to strike for the glory of Japan. Admiral Nagumo, commander of the task force, delivers a final message from Imperial headquarters in Tokyo. Niitakayama, nobore. Climb Mount Niitaka. The code to attack. Fresh northwesterly trade is blowing, and the helmsmen swing their carriers into the wind for launching the planes. Latitude 26 degrees north, longitude 158 degrees west. The launching point. Pearl Harbor lies 275 miles to the south. It is 0600. It is X Day. 2,000 miles away in Washington, it is almost noon. At the Navy Department, intelligence experts have had a puzzling Sunday morning. Some time ago, they broke Japan's most carefully guarded code. They've deciphered a dispatch from Tokyo to the Japanese embassy. Secret instructions reject America's request for mediation in the Far Eastern crisis, order negotiations broken off. Exactly what this means, no one knows. The State Department is uneasy. Secretary Cordell Hull awaits another crucial conference with the Japanese ambassador and a special envoy from Tokyo scheduled for 1 o'clock. The Japanese ask for a 45-minute postponement, but there is no delay in the flight of their warplanes toward Hawaii. Sunny, relaxed, peaceful. Flying weather good, visibility clear. Slowly life begins to stir on the island. Radar station, a private practices as he waits for the breakfast truck. He picks up planes approaching from the north and tracks them for a few minutes before reporting to Air Force Headquarters, Hickam Field. But the planes are thought to be American. Ten minutes to 8. December 7th, 1941. planes depart. Never in modern history has a war begun with so smashing a victory. In 1 hour and 50 minutes, the Japanese have sunk or shattered 8 battleships. Oklahoma, West Virginia, Arizona, Nevada, California, Tennessee, Maryland, Pennsylvania. 3 cruisers and 3 destroyers, and 4 smaller ships are sunk or battered. Planes and most of their hangars demolished. The Japanese have lost 29 planes. 68 of their pilots and sailors are dead, and 5 midget submarines which tried to penetrate Pearl Harbor are beached or sunk. One of the cheapest military triumphs on record. Suffering, agony, death. 1,178 men wounded, 68 civilians dead, 109 Marines dead, 218 soldiers dead, 2,008 sailors dead. In Tokyo, the government loses no time in exploiting the news of Pearl Harbor, Japan's greatest victory. With pride, an autocratic regime informs an amazed population of its newly won prize. Propaganda carries on where the bombers left off. Japan's mission is being fulfilled. The 8 corners of the world will be under one roof. The militarists have kept their promise. They have demonstrated the power of the Japanese Empire. They have done the impossible. Sunk the United States Navy. The head of their government, War Minister and Dictator Tojo, accepts a conqueror's laurels and rejoices with his subjects. As though the Japanese propagandists are right. So it seems in the aftermath. But while the hulks are still hot from the attack, experts and technicians are being flown in from the mainland. The most extraordinary salvage job in history begins. Hidden in the havoc wrought by the new enemy are the seeds of a miracle. In the ruins, there is life. With the dead lies the vision of a shattered fleet, hidden in a pall of fire and smoke, and the vengeance of the United States. Dead ships sail again. The fleet has arisen from Pearl Harbor.